The Miami Heat made the NBA Finals after a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics. It's safe to say nobody saw that coming, because they entered the playoffs as an 8 seed and then went on to beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round, who were most people's favorite to win it all right now. The only other time an 8 seed made it to the NBA Finals, it was a lockout-shortened year. And I remember, because I'm a Knicks fan. But the truth is that the Heat players aren't just overachievers in the playoffs. They are a team filled with NBA rejects, the type of players that nobody else wanted. And their continued success is proof that they have the best scouting department in the NBA and probably the best player development, because they built a winner with the same guys who most NBA scouts flat out passed up on and probably got fired over it. And now, more than half their team are undrafted players. And this is how they pulled it off. First things first, Jimmy Butler is the leader of the Miami Heat. And that matters, because historically, no team has made the NBA Finals since 1990 without having at least one clear NBA Hall of Famer to lead their team. The Heat are no exception, because Jimmy Butler is their guy. And after leading them to the NBA Finals in the bubble, he is proving this year that it was not a fluke. But we cannot forget that Jimmy Butler was never supposed to be a superstar. He was the last pick of the first round for the Chicago Bulls, and he didn't even become an all-star until his 4th year in the league. The Bulls traded him to the Timberwolves because they didn't think they could build around him, and the Wolves tried to convince us he was a cancer to the team. They paid Andrew Wiggins instead of him, and then traded him away to the 76ers, who made the same mistake again. They paid Ben Simmons over Jimmy Butler, and once again, somebody had to get fired over that one. So he chose the Miami Heat in free agency, and he hasn't looked back ever since. At the end of the first round, you are not supposed to get an all-star. In fact, of all the 30th picks in the draft for the 5 years before Jimmy Butler was selected, none of those guys lasted more than 4 years in the league. And the closest thing we have ever seen to an all-star since Jimmy Butler, as the 30th pick, is Desmond Bane with the Grizzlies. Yet the 76ers, Timberwolves, and Chicago Bulls gave Jimmy away for pennies on the dollar. And if we're really being honest, the Miami Heat do have some top basketball players on their team. The thing is, them boys just don't play much. The top basketball players ranked out of high school, and of course in the draft, are normally the ones who dominate in the NBA. And up until this season, the Miami Heat had some of those guys. But throughout the 2023 playoffs, it has been their unranked and undrafted players who have taken center stage. The only players on the Heat roster who were ranked inside the top 60 high school basketball recruits are as follows: Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, and Cody Zeller. Only Bam Adebayo actually started in every playoff game. Kevin Love started in most of them, but played fewer than 20 minutes per game when he did. And Kyle Lowry played in each game, but he came off the bench in all but one of them. And Tyler Hero was hurt since the first game of the playoffs. Cody Zeller played in a few games, but he averaged less than 10 minutes when he did. This means that every other player on their team was not supposed to even make it to the league, according to the scouts. So all these undrafted guys are the ones who the Heat are actually hooping with. They had 9 undrafted players on their roster, 7 of which are in the team's playoff rotation. The Heat literally found players that nobody else wanted and developed them into key contributors for a deep playoff run. And among those 7 players, only Duncan Robinson, when he was in college, actually was a player for a Power 5 conference team. He actually played for Michigan, but even that's only half the story, because he started his career at Division III Williams College and then transferred up to Division I. And now he's a three-point specialist for an NBA Finals team. Udonis Haslem is technically the only other player who played for a power conference team. He went to Florida, but that was a long time ago. And he's basically the grandfather of the Miami Heat. He don't get in the games much. The Heat found the rest of their rotation players from places that nobody really bothers to look. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, and Omer Yurtseven were all players for smaller conference teams in NCAA Division I. But Martin, Vincent, and Strus find themselves on the court during crunch time throughout this entire playoffs. And Haywood Highsmith plays 10 minutes per game for the Heat, but he was a Division II player, the Division II National Player of the Year actually. And he did that at Wheeling Jesuit University. They changed their name to Wheeling University, if you ever plan on Googling it. The truth is that the NBA draft is for some teams a general manager closing their eyes and rolling dice on some players, hoping that they actually make it in the league, based off of a list made by some scouts that they've never met. And the Miami Heat don't like to gamble. They have a clear system to evaluate players who are making their way through the ranks of the G League. And once a player has proven that he can fill a role for the Miami Heat, they let him do exactly that against the NBA's best. The Heat were not supposed to make the NBA Finals. In fact, they weren't even supposed to make it out the first round. But beyond that, most NBA teams wouldn't even know what to do with half of the players on their roster. Erik Spoelstra is the Miami Heat's championship-winning coach, who started off not as a former player, but as the team's video coordinator. Coach Spo knows what it means to be underrated. And after coaching those LeBron teams to NBA championships, he has earned our respect, which is probably why he looks for the players who are just like him, underrated and overlooked, to play for his team. And they are willing to do whatever it takes to win, even without all of the accolades, recruitment rankings, or the draft stock to back it up. But their results speak for themselves. Besides, for all the teams the Heat eliminated, the joke is really on them, because they could have had just about any one of these players. All they had to do was call their names at any point during the NBA draft. I'm Coach Rob, and thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want to see more content like this, then please like and subscribe.